When you hear the word sexting, what is the first thing that comes to mind? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Okay, so some of you may have thought that it involves something with sex. Others may have just went to Google for the answer, and the remaining just don't know. So I'll tell you. According to dictionary.com, sexting is the sending of sexually explicit digital images, videos, text messages, or emails, usually by cell phone. The word is derived from the combination of two terms, sex and texting. Way back in 2004, Canada's The Globe and Mail had an article about explicit text messages sent between David Beckham and an assistant that contained what seems to be the first instance of the words used in a newspaper. Text messaging has become the new phone sex, the article reported, adding that for many people, sex messaging has a disinhibiting effect like having a couple of cocktails. In this instance, sexting refers to explicit text messages exchanged between two persons. So some may argue that the concept of sexting or erotic communication is not something new. Before this, there was phone sex, cybersex, love letters with sexual content, etc. And there was always a risk of these activities going public. For example, US Representative Mark Foley's 2005 instant messaging conversation with a former page, where they discussed his sexual interest in plaster casts. In 2011, a major sexting scandal involving US Representative Anthony Weiner, where he took a below-the-waist picture and sent it to a female college student in Seattle. He then resigned after admitting it in June 2011. Research suggests that approximately 15% of adults in the US have received a sexually suggestive pic or video. 6% have sent one, and 3% have forwarded it. I decided to go around and interview several persons to ask them what they knew about the term sexting, ask them to examine several photos and state what they believe happened in them, ask for potential reasons why someone would sext, the potential risk associated with sexting, and finally, if they would advise anyone to sext or not and their reason for saying so. These are the responses. What do you believe is sexting? When you heard the word sexting?
Receiving and transferring of nude pictures or pictures of different part of your body.
Sexual texts. Sending texts about sex and begging for sex and exchanging ideas to do with sex via text messages.
Okay, and based on the pictures provided, what do you grasp from the situation?
Well, the photograph, what really come to mind is that one of the girl is sexing to maybe a friend, and I believe it get out of hand where other friends have seen she pictures.
What reason do you believe that the guy shared it to his friends?
Boy stuck. Maybe he and the friend discuss on them and said, well, I eating that thing across there, you know that girl said, boys do that, a lot of boys do that. For no, maybe just a matter of boasting and showing off that they could get this particular girl.
What are the consequences of his actions of sending or showing his friend those pictures that he received?
The boy would spread it, most likely, and that you could have cyberbullying. He could use that to blackmail the girl into sex or for money or anything like that. Show she friends and they all gang up on her.
If you were to provide advice to anyone, would you advise them to sext or not? And can you tell me the reason why?
Definitely no, I would not encourage them to do such. It can be harmful and painful, and such things like that. It not only harm the person, but persons that surround them. So I think it's dangerous to do any sexting.
Well, based on the relationship you have with the person, you could do it. Because, like, say for example, you're working in the kind of job or you're maybe just there, and your wife might decide maybe to just send you a picture or something. So that's based on the relationship. If you just casual friendship boyfriend, I wouldn't advise you because the person might use it to get back to you if they can have their way. But based on the relationship, you could do it and be careful.
As you have heard, the majority disagreed with the concept of sexting, whereas one of them stated that it was okay. based on the type of relationship you have with the individual involved. A risk that is associated with sexting is the potential of sharing photos of underage teens or children. This could result in the charge of distributing or possessing child pornography. And in Grenada, under the Electronic Crimes Act of 2013, a child is considered anyone who is under the age of 18 years. In Section 12, subsection 2, A to C and E, which specifically deals with child pornography, states that anyone that does so commits an offense and is liable on conviction on indictment to a fine not exceeding $200,000 or to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 5 years, or both, and in the event of a second or subsequent conviction, to a fine not exceeding $300,000 or to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 20 years, or both. Final thoughts. There are serious consequences associated with sexting, and the reason why people sext can be numerous. However, I believe that if you are willing to participate in sexting, that you and the individual involved should have respect and a great understanding of one another.